Woo! Finally back on camera! It's been so long since my channel has just been nothing but Mega Man Zero and Mega Man ZX. I'm happy to finally be doing something else for a change. So what are we reviewing this time? Huh? A Mega Man style game? Well, at least it's more of a Megumin than a Mega Man? Eh?
Okay, despite playing a lot of Mega Man recently, I was really looking forward to this. Konosuba, even if it's only my 10th favorite anime, is a show that perfectly appeals to me, what with its relatably dickhead protagonist, RPG-inspired world, cute girls, it's good shit. So when it announced that the first Blu-ray of the second season would include a bonus Mega Man game, I was totally up for it. So the game takes place a few days after Season 1's Destroyer Destruction finale, when Verdia comes back to take his vengeance on the party that bested him, and his plan involves taking control of the three girls to cause mayhem. I love how Kazuma initially doesn't care because he assumes they'll come back when they're hungry, like they're cats. And the only reason he eventually goes out to free them is because he'll be responsible for their damages otherwise. Kazuma initially starts off with his personal set of skills until they're stolen by Verdia at the end of the intro stage, Symphony of the Night style. Past that, he can only rely on his sword that shoots beams. They don't travel far, but they become more damaging and reaching the more they're charged. Though, despite Kazuma swinging his sword to shoot, it doesn't work like Rocket Knight, where the sword itself does more damage. Thankfully, with the high-speed swings and large charge blasts, base attacks are enough to carry most of the game, and his movement ability is also sufficient, mostly. It's incredible how perfect Capcom got Mega Man's movement back in the 80s, because any competent game copying it follows the exact same framework. The only thing I can talk about is the inclusion of a dash that works exactly like its X counterpart. Though its presence makes me expect a wall climb, and there's a few points in the level design that makes me wish there was a double jump. Each of the levels is unique in gimmicks, really impressive visuals, and equally great soundtrack. Seriously, this is amazing stuff. There's a lot of other qualities that are elevated above other Mega Man clones. It would have been so easy to make the game really hard because people like to glorify old school difficulty, but this is a much more manageable difficulty. Okay, maybe it's a little too easy, but that's a better extreme to be on, and it's not like it's a cakewalk. Though it's not like the ingredients for difficulty aren't there. Even if spikes aren't instant kill, there are still other ways to die quickly, from lava to pits to... that's it actually. Stages are kind of on the long side, and checkpoints can be spaced out, but the goddess of padding will keep bringing you back as long as you've got the spirit. The checkpoints even refill health and mana by standing on them, like a Castlevania game. Just remember to actually save or it won't count. Also in line with Castlevania, because I just can't escape Mega Man with Metroidvania trappings, is the level ups. You know, kill enemies, earn experience, earn levels. It does absolutely nothing but increase attack power, which is at least nice since the game relies on constant hits, and it adds up. It is possible to increase maximum health and magic by finding Chomusuke and this other guy in the stages. One of each in each stage, I think. Sometimes they're right in plain sight, every other time they're hidden behind a nondescript destructible block. It's lazy, but it's the thought that counts. It's going to be important to make use of those free refills because while mana slowly refills on its own, health drops are non-existent. The only thing enemies drop are money. Now, you can use that money to buy health refills, though I'd recommend saving it to repurchase the skills you lost. On that note, I'm a little disappointed that the store is just a menu instead of being run by Wiz, but I suppose I like the things I buy to work. It's expensive, but I recommend Steel. It can siphon health from enemies and snag upgrades. And other things. If you need some quick cash, you can take on an extra quest, like killing a certain number of an enemy and other things I can't read. Not everything has been translated yet, if it ever will be. But you can only pick one at a time, so unless you know before picking a stage which enemies will be in it, or if you want to replay stages, it's kinda useless. And you won't really need the money for anything. It's plenty possible to get through the whole game without the E-Tank equivalent, and Steel is the only purchasable ability I use. Now, the skills from beating the bosses are more worthwhile, and I love that this game has the taste of power trope down. You start off with abilities, lose them, but can get them back plus extra. And since the bosses are main characters, they're of course the highlights. They're fun, good representations of the characters, and decently challenging. The issue is that with the huge charge shots you're always firing, it's very easy to lose the boss in the commotion, and then you're caught off guard with their next attack. And as you may have guessed, Explosion is clearly the best skill. That's not to say that the stages are free from their own unique brands of bullshit, because they've got them. Aqua's stage is the worst, with its ice physics, icicle spikes that blend into the scenery, snowballs all the time, and these ice blocks that break when you step on them and don't respawn until you leave the screen. Darkness's stage spends so long before it hits its first checkpoint, and it's got these tiny dull enemies that always move out of the way of your shots, to the point that they become obstacles rather than foes. Megumin's stage isn't bad, but it's got a lot of hazards to look out for. Unfortunately, that only brings our stage count up to 3, plus the intro stage. Yes, now we can access Verdia's stages, but that still only brings us up to a total of 6. Yes, they're longer stages, but a low number like that is kind of disappointing. And once you beat the game, there's not much to do. You could go back to grind for money by doing all the quests to buy everything, or you could play on a higher difficulty. But in terms of actual other content, there's only a boss rush and a cabbage-killing score attack. I get that this was just a bonus game to justify Japan's vastly overpriced anime, but the game feels unfinished. Not unpolished, but there should have been more here. So many of the assets are unique to each stage, and that's fine for decorations, but what about these disappearing blocks that only appear twice? These weights that only appear once? Actually, a lot of the pieces of Megumin's stage don't appear again. I suppose technically that is kind of ideal and admirable to make everything fresh, but you accept the limitation of development for so long. This is the weird thing. Like, here's what I'm talking about in a nutshell. You have the ability to steal the girls' panties in their fights, but why? I mean, it takes so much money to buy steel, and it has uses outside of this Easter egg, but why put this detail in if it doesn't accomplish anything? Besides reminding you that this is a Konosuba game. Wouldn't it be cool if, by stealing them, they became equipable items to change the gameplay dynamic? Like, Megumin significantly increases skill power but removes any way to regain mana, Darkness's increases defense while also decreasing attack, and Aqua's allows one on-the-spot resurrection at the cost of all skills being unusable. Come on, Kazuma would totally keep them on him if the girl in question couldn't scold him for it. Well, regardless of the lack of content, I had a fantastic time with this game. It's actually a really good Mega Man game, better than any other licensed clone and even a few of the official entries. Sure, I can say some of it is fan service because I love the anime, the same way I enjoy Fullmetal Alchemist Dual Sympathy, but it's got legitimate qualities. The one thing I can say for sure is that it's way better than it has any right to be as a pack-in bonus game. If you love Mega Man, Konosuba, or preferably both, find a way to play this game that will likely never release outside Japan. You're smart, people.
You are a pirate!
I know we get the light novel and manga translations, but it really doesn't feel like we get the proper love for Konosuba. It's been over a year, and we still have no news about the anime leaving Crunchyroll. I can only assume that means they own the rights, but neither they nor Funimation have announced any sort of dubbing or release plans. The show is popular here, right? Or is it limited solely to memes? I've made peace with the fact that we're not getting the full Konosuba game coming out later this year that has the best premise ever, but the rest of Aqua's domain should not be limited. What? Eris?